Okay, so this story right here comes from Business Insider. Shout out to Better Bachelor for giving me the idea to cover this story because this is a relatively new article. It's written by Nidhi Pandarangi, December 14th, 2022. Nearly half of all young adults in the U.S. are living at home with their parents, and all that saved rent is fueling a luxury boom. The main points that they give you: nearly half of U.S. young adults are living at home, a high not seen since the Great Depression. They are helping fuel a luxury boom, Morgan Stanley says. Living at home is freeing up their budgets and leaving them with more disposable income for spending. Okay, let's see. A record number of young adults in the U.S. are currently living at home, and all that saved rent is sparking a luxury boom. Recent data from the U.S. Census Bureau shows that nearly half of young Americans between the ages of 18 and 29 are living with their parents today. That's a historical high not seen since the Great Depression era. Morgan Stanley analyst wrote in a Friday note. The analyst estimated that around 48% of young adults are living with parents in 2022, similar to levels seen in the 1940s. The levels of young adults living at home peaked at 49.5% around 2020, coinciding with the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The data came from a Pew Research Center analysis, USA Today, the University of Minnesota, and Morgan Stanley Research. That's great news for luxury retailers because saving on daily necessities like rent and groceries is freeing up disposable income for discretionary spending, a team of Morgan Stanley analysts said. This is, of course, not the only reason luxury goods consumers are getting younger in the West. Social media obviously plays a huge part, but we see it as fundamentally positive for the industry, the analyst wrote in a note. Factors like high rental costs, enrollment in higher education programs, and delayed marriage are also keeping young adults at home, the analyst wrote. When asked about the incentives to move in with parents, 51% of the young adults said that it was to save money, and 39% of them said that it was because they could not afford rent, according to December 5th survey, propertymanagement.com. The survey platform Pollfish conducted a survey of about 1,200 U.S. participants online on December 1st. Similar themes are emerging among British youth. Similar themes are emerging across the pond in the United Kingdom, where about 42% of young adults live with their parents in 2021. That's the highest level on record based on data compiled from 1996 onwards by the Office for National Statistics and Morgan Stanley Research. In the first half of 2022, imports of luxury Swiss watches into the UK rose 31% year over year, The Guardian reported, citing data from Federation of Swiss Watch Industry. The watches on average cost about 6,000 lira or about 7,400 at current exchange rates. Sales of mid-range watches, those costing below 2,500 or about 3,100, were falling at the time, The Guardian reported. Okay, I'm going to get through this before I start opining because this way I'll get through, the majority of the story. The British luxury brand Burberry reported an 11% year-over-year increase in sales in the quarter ending in September. The luxury goods maker LVMH, which owns brands including Dior, Tiffany, Moet, Hennessy, and Louis Vuitton, reported a 19% year-over-year increase in revenue for the third quarter of 2020, thanks to robust demand from Europe, United States, Japan. One of the things I want to point out, Europe, United States, and Japan, what do we know about these places? One thing you'll know is, first of all, you're seeing a large number of young adults living with parents, not able to purchase their own home, not getting married, and birth rates are declining across all three. Now, Japan, their problem ultimately is that they got basically taken over by America. At the end of World War II, Japan was completely in submission to the USA. United States of America forced liberal feminism onto Japan. Those people who know about Japanese studies would understand this. Before the United States took over Japan, the Japanese women were happy enough being traditional Japanese women. Once America took over Japan, America ruined Japan. America basically came in, forced liberal feminist rights onto the Japanese people, and it's been downhill ever since then. So for the most part, most of these Japanese men, they're no longer looking for Japanese women. These Japanese men are going to Southeast Asia and they're looking for women, Philippines, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam. It's always the same places. See, Southeast Asia, the women are mostly traditional and they follow Confucian values and whatnot. And they, even though they may live in matriarchies, they don't have a welfare state. And because of that, they are always going to be living traditionally. So America ruined itself, Europe ruined itself, and then Europe and America went to Asia and took their bullshit to Asia, and then Asia started declining too. So that's the simple fact of the matter. An insider intelligence report on September 14th found that the luxury goods sectors in the US and China have bounced back during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. But economic headwinds like an impending recession will weigh heavy on middle class spenders. First of all, I've said this numerous times. We've been in a recession since 2001. The only reason why you didn't know it was because everybody was spending on credit. When you're spending on credit, that helps to supplement income and that helps to hide the fact that you're actually in recession. We were in recession so long that at this point we're in stagflation. They won't tell you the truth. They'll continue to ignore people like me, the small voices on YouTube, the small voices on social media. But someday they'll fess up to it and they'll say, yes, we're in a recession. What they've been doing is they've been trying to fudge the numbers. They've been trying to lie about the numbers. Oh, no, we're not in recession. Look at this data right here. And then they lie about the data. So basically, it's like, what are you going to do? If I can't criticize the fact that you're lying to my face, then at a certain point, there's no point in doing it. But we all know the truth. The mere fact that you're paying twice as much for a gallon of gas as you were 4 or 5 years ago. The mere fact that you're paying 30 to 50 to even 75% more for a house than you'd be paying 5 or 6 years ago. The mere fact that a carton of milk costs you damn near $5. The mere fact that eggs cost you damn near $4 per carton for a dozen. You can't lie to us. It's like deep down, no matter what you say, we already know the truth. Some of us are willing to say it out loud. A lot of us aren't. So, okay, that's the end of this story. So basically, I've told you before about the bald eagles. The bald eagles, when they get ready to lay eggs, they build a nice soft nest. They go out, they hunt for food, they kill animals, they take pieces of those animals, usually their fur. They go find straw, they go find the softest materials they can find, anything they can find. They bring it back to their nest and they build a nice, soft bald eagle nest. They lay their eggs. They hatch their eaglets. They go out, hunt, bring food back. They regurgitate it into the eaglet's mouth, and they do everything they can to make a nice soft nest, and they give as much food as they can to the eaglets to grow them as fast as possible. And the intent is obviously to grow them as quickly as possible so that they can be bald eagles one day. They can go from eaglets to being bald eagles. But eventually, those two eagle parents look at each other and they're like, you know what? We got to get these motherfuckers out of here because this nest ain't big enough no more. Not only that, it's time for y'all to go out and be eagles. Y'all can't stay here no longer. So what do? They start taking the soft materials out of their nest and they leave behind the sharp spines and the sharp spikes of the branches and this, that, and other. So every time those eaglets try to get comfortable, it pokes them in their fucking ass. And the eagles are trying to send you a subtle message. It's like, yo, listen, it's time for y'all to get the fuck out. It's just that simple. Y'all are 30 years old. It's time for you to get the fuck out. You're 40 years old. It's time for you to get out of here. Y'all need to go be eagles. The bald eagles also stop getting food and bringing it back. What they do is they go out, they get their food, they eat it themselves. They're not bringing shit home. And the eaglets are supposed to get the message. They be like, hey, yeah, mom, dad, I'm hungry. You didn't bring anything home to eat. And the eagles probably look back at them and be like, yeah, that's right. We didn't bring anything home to eat. You know what that means? I think it's time for you to go out there and fly and get something to eat. If we don't force your stupid ass out of this nest, You might not even understand how to fly because you never use your goddamn wings. No, it's time for you to get the fuck out. Now, when we talk about humans, I got friends in their 40s, late 40s, living with their damn parents. I've said this 100 times. You got your sons are living in mommy's basement. Your sons are living in the basement because your sons are looking for as much space as they can, as far away from you as possible. But the problem is they don't want to be on the same floor up there with you. They don't want to be right under you on the main floor. No. They living in the basement. Your sons live in the basement. So you go down into the basement, their basement, they're whatever money they got coming in, they're spending it on fucking computer parts. They go out and buy the GeForce RTX 3090 to 4090. They going out and making gaming supercomputers in their basement. They going out buying PlayStation 5, going out buying Xbox One Series, One X Series, One XX, and X Series, One X. I don't even know. The stupid fucking naming strategy. They got brand new this, brand new that. They rocking J's, Jordans on their feet. They rocking J's on their feet. Luxury items. Rolling around with some of them are bold enough to take out credit to get a Rolex, $5,000-$6,000 Rolex. Rocking all these luxury items. They walk. I know. I'm gonna tell some personal stories. I know. I'm not gonna name names. I know boys living up with their parents, and they go out and they buy ice chains. They got this big ass ice chains, walking around looking like they're a fucking rapper. And they can't even wear that chain outside because their parents don't let them wear it outside because they know if they go outside with that chain, they might get the shit beat out of them. They get that chain stolen or worse. Because you got to remember, I live here in New York City. They'll kill you for your sneakers. Like some of these Pookies and Ray Rays out there, they will shoot you and take your J's off your feet. They will stab you. I know, and I'm not, man, I know last week, kid, not even, I think it was 19 or 20, got killed on a street corner. Stabbed. By stabbing, not by shooting, but stabbed to death. This is occurring, it reoccurs constantly in like the Bronx. I try to stay away from the Bronx. I don't even want to go to the Bronx and park there because the motherfuckers, you come out, they take your wheels off your car. And these motherfuckers got catalytic converter wrenches. They steal your goddamn catalytic converter off your car. Now, I don't even like parking anywhere. I don't even like driving through the Bronx. But this is a common thing over there. Common thing in the Bronx. Common thing in some parts of New York City. They will steal your shit right off you. They'll send you home naked. They will hold you at gunpoint and take your chain. So, long story short, the boy is living in their mama's attic, buying high-tech, turning their bedroom in the basement into a command center, buying all this shit. Meanwhile, the daughters in their daddy's attic, they in daddy's attic, aging. What are the daughters doing? They in daddy's attic because they can't stay in the basement. No. We can't put our daughter in the basement. The daughter's up in daddy's attic, getting old. What's she probably doing? Going back and forth to somebody's school. She probably got a master's degree already, but now she got to get a PhD. So I'm a PhD. That's what Kevin Samuels had that button. I love that button. I'm a PhD. So she's up in daddy's attic, going back and forth, working on her PhD, running up debt, getting old and running up debt. She may not be able to get a man because she's not fit, feminine, or friendly, but she sure as hell can try to force you to call her doctor because she got her PhD. I'm a PhD. I'm a PhD. That's what they're doing. And the parents, what kills me is the parents are too weak. The parents are too weak to put a stop to it. See, the Eagles look at each other and say, you know what, we got to get this motherfucker out of here. We're not going to feed this bastard. Not only that, we're going to make this shit so uncomfortable, you're going to have to leave. These American parents, these European parents, they too weak. I won't blame the Japanese parents, and the reason why is because after having lived in China and actually having stayed in Shinjuku-ku, Tokyo, Japan, I have to say the way they live, they virtually live on top of each other. They have very small houses. Their houses are right on top of each other. Like I look at my house, I've got a big driveway on one side of my house. I have a nice walkway on the other side of my house. But when I was in Japan and I went down some of those residential areas, it was like those houses were on top of each other. Like the most you'd get is like a walkway between houses. They might as well have been attached. These 20-year-old, 30-year-old kids, they literally live right with their parents on top of each other, damn near. And as you know, in Japan, a lot of them, they still sleep on the floor. They don't have like bed frames and shit. Like they have those mats. So I'm not going to blame them because that's their culture to live right on top of everybody. So I'm not going to blame them. But as far as Europe, I think about like UK. I haven't been to Europe because I honestly don't give a shit about Europe. Like I've spent my money traveling mostly to Asia, Southeast Asia, and Oceania. But I will say this. They have small homes, small houses, and a lot of them live in apartments. They have somewhat of an excuse. But Americans, you ain't got no excuse. You ain't got no excuse. Especially in a country like this where there's so much opportunity. Your kids should be out there doing something. There's 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old millionaires who said, you know what? I'm going to make an app. I'm going to make an app. Oh, wait, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play with toys while my parents record me on YouTube. Fucking kid make $36 million a year making fun of my ass, my stupid ass. I only make less than $250,000 a year. This motherfucker's making $36 million a year playing with toys. What's your excuse? You can't go out there and get a job? The best you could do is go work at Family Dollar, go work at Amazon Fresh Direct. That's the best you could do. But then the sad thing about it is this is what they do with their money. They spend it all up. So yeah, you may have your son living in your basement, but he got a Dodge Charger sitting outside. He got a Dodge Charger Scat Pack. He's got a what does he got? He's got a Challenger Scat Pack sitting outside. Like Walter White and his son. Like even Walter White, the drug dealer on Breaking Bad, went out and got himself a 300, and then he got his son a Challenger. So yeah, your kid lives in the basement, but he's sitting on 24s, right? And then there's your daughter who's aging. She's up in your attic. Your daughter's getting old, but she's getting her PhD, so you have to call her doctor. Doctor daughter. Doctor daughter, unmarried, childless, single. I have to call you doctor daughter, right? Right? This is what y'all are doing. I'm going to go out. I'm going to use my loan money. I'm going to take out loans to buy a Range Rover because that's what they want. Have you seen these women lately? They're riding around in BMWs and Range Rovers, just them, no men anywhere. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's really cute. I wonder how much debt you're in. Because that's the first thing that comes to my mind. First of all, these people who be flashing all this ice and shit, flashing these fucking cars, I don't even look at that shit no more. Because I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you probably went to one of them dealerships and they put you on a ninja loan and you're spending all that money on some shit that's going to depreciate faster than you can imagine. You're going to end up underwater on that shit and you're going to be in that car for like the next 10 years. Or you're flashing this Louis Vuitton and Gucci Prada Femi. You flashing all that shit. That shit don't mean nothing. Most of that stuff is trash. And you're paying 28% interest on a credit card for that stuff. Me personally, and especially like I think about these luxury watches, it's like, yeah, if I was super, super rich, yeah, I mean, I might get a nice, expensive watch. But if I did, it would be not to show, but it would be like it would be an investment. It would be an heirloom. Like all of my jewelry would be passed down to my kids. It's not something that I would have them wear out there. I would be like, well, listen, this is expensive here. This is something that you collect and you pass down so that this way you have a piece of wealth instead of just wearing it and breaking it and wearing it down. But nobody they don't think like that. That's the reason why they're buried in credit card debt. I've done a number of stories talking about how consumer credit card debt is sky high. But this is the thing. These kids are living at home, doing nothing. Who's filling in for these kids? Who's replacing them in the workforce? Well, That's the reason why you can't close these borders down. The reason you can't close these borders down is because we got to replace your useless kids. Because understand something, your daughter and her PhD, they're useless. There's nothing she can do. Most of these colleges have such low enrollment, they're not even hiring professors. They don't want to tenure the professors anymore because most of these colleges can't afford it. Some of these colleges will get only the highest quality of professor, a PhD in engineering, PhD in medicine, brain surgery, stuff like that. They'll get them if they can. But they ain't trying to hire your daughter for her fucking PhD. They're not trying to hire her. What's the most amount of money she can make? No, you answer me. And then there's your son. What I will say is just like that story I brought up from the New York Times about Daniel and how these boys are not enrolling in college. Personally, and I have 2 master's degrees, 1 bachelor's degree, private pilot license, and I have a language degree and business degree from Fudan University in China, Shanghai, China. I believe in college. I really do. What I don't believe is that we should be having people go to these useless liberal arts classes. If you're going to go to college, you should be getting science, technology, engineering, math, or medicine. If you're getting a degree in any of those and you make it through and you get it, well, I don't even care if it's physical therapy. I don't care if you get a CAT scan, MRI, if you get one of the certifications for that. At least I know that you're adding value to the system, and at least I know that you can work and that even if things come down hard, you can still hustle. We always need somebody to run a CAT scan. We always need somebody to run an MRI. We always need somebody to be an X-ray technician. We don't need you to have a PhD in liberal arts studies. We don't need PhDs in women's studies. We don't need PhDs in intersexual feminism. We don't need PhDs in, underwater basket weaving. There's certain things we don't need. There's just certain things we don't need. They will keep these borders open. They will keep bringing in illegal aliens to fill and replace your position in society. But the bottom line is, I think it's kind of heading the other way because more and more boys are rejecting. First of all, most of these boys are dropping out of high school. Let's be perfectly honest. They don't give a fuck. They're barely getting a D in high school. There was a story even more recently where a lot of colleges are starting to drop SATs for their entrance. They don't give a fuck what your test scores are. They just want you to have a pulse and a pencil. They need you in these seats. Because when you're in these seats, it allows them to keep these colleges open. It allows them to have enough of your student loan money coming in to keep these places open. These liberal arts worthless professors are doing their best to keep you in these seats so that they can feather their retirement. They want to feather their nest, feather their retirement. A lot of these boys are dropping out. They're dropping out of high school. High school is trying to retain them as much as possible, but they're dropping out at a higher rate. They're going to college. They barely had a D average in high school. They're going to college. And when they go to college, what are they doing? Dropping out because they can't handle the work. They can't handle it. They didn't learn how to handle it when they were. See, here's the problem. You know what? I've noticed a lot of these schools, when you see like your little cousins or you see your little family members, they come home. They're always talking about college readiness. I don't believe in college readiness. I believe in high school mastery. Why are you telling me about some far off idea about finishing college when what you should be doing is disciplining me and preparing me to master the level I'm on right now? A real teacher teaches for the present and prepares you by teaching you to master the present in order to be in the future and to deal with that. These kids are so undisciplined, they're literally sitting and watching TikTok all fucking day. And even this article mentions it. They're getting their ideas for luxury vacations. Like, for instance, how did you go to Bora Bora? How do you go to Seychelles? How do you go to Maldives? It's like, you know how I did it? I fucking work and I save money and then I go on vacation. They think that they're supposed to just be able to do the bare minimum and they're supposed to have all this stuff. The reality is they aren't disciplined enough to handle the workloads of the future. Y'all are so busy with this college readiness bullshit that you can't even get them to master middle school. You can't even get them to master high school. When you go to college, most people, they go to college, they don't even know what they want to major in because they have no idea what the fuck they're doing there, with the exception of spending money, student loans. Once they're there, that's when you can talk about college readiness and mastering college. All of these things are set up to give discipline. Most of these kids ain't got no discipline. That's why, just like the story says, they're still living at home. They can't afford a house. They can't save for a house. How are they going to save for a house when they're out buying scat packs? How are they going to save for a house when they're buying Gucci Prada Femi? Huh? $500 Yeezy sneakers. And they're broke every other fucking week. What is it called? Uggs. They got the Uggs on. Look, those are ugly ass shoes. Like O.J. Simpson said, these are some ugly ass shoes. Those Bruno Malis, the ugly ass shoes. But you spent $200 or $300 for them, right? You're not saving no fucking money. You're getting it from your parents. Last thing I'm going to say, because I love ranting about this. I could keep going. I got a client, and this is a woman, and this one's not a man. The last one's a man, and he's going through a divorce. Now, this is a woman going through a divorce. She's got over $1 million in student loans attached to her name. Not hers, her kids. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Did you really let your kids co-sign your name to $1 million plus in student loans? Now, here's the thing. She's got 6 kids. 6 kids. And each one of them has basically finished college, but they left the bill attached to her. Not only that, but they have their own student loans because, there's only certain amounts that your parents can take out, and then you have to take out the rest. They got these people locked up in student loans forever. Joe Biden, with that bullshit about student loan forgiveness, he tricked your stupid asses into voting Democrat. And then right after those elections were over, now you find out the Republicans got the House and they said, no, we're not doing this. So what do they have to do? They got to pause student loans till summer of next year. Pause, which means that those interest payments, a lot of y'all going to get eaten alive by them interest payments. What it also means is that your debt-to-income ratios are going to be sky high. You ain't going to be able to buy the car you want. You ain't going to be able to buy the house you want. You're going to be stuck driving around in some little $20,000 or $30,000 piece of shit. I will say this. The $20,000 to $30,000 car market is actually getting a lot better. I give props where props are due. Hyundai is creating better cars in that car price range than ever before. Toyota they built a new Prius that looks pretty cool. It's a little small-ass little car. It looks like the Prius Prime. If somebody say, hey, take this Prius Prime and make it look cool like the Model 3. So I got to say, they're doing some good things there. I give props where they're due. So even though you're going to be fucking broke and you're going to be driving around in some little 4-cylinder or you're going to be driving around in some little electric car, the simple fact is you're going to be driving around a compact little car, right? If you can afford to get a car. But you ain't going to be able to buy no house. You're about to be a generation of future permanent renters. This whole idea that I hear, this nonsense, oh yeah, well, we're just staying with our parents to save money. Guess what? You ain't saving no money. And even if you are saving money, you're still chasing the price of inflation. I know people, personal friends, with that same bullshit. Oh yeah, we're just staying here to save money. It's like, guess what? No matter how much you save, you're not going to be able to buy a house in cash because the values are so high, especially here. Now, in some other states, this may not apply. But you're going to be chasing the price of inflation. And while you're saving your little bit of money and the bank is giving you less than 10% interest, you're not even, like, your money is gaining, like, virtually no interest. It's like you're not getting ahead. You're basically running on a treadmill and you're just staying in one place for the most part. Now, there are some people who get lucky and they get windfalls from deceased parents, deceased relatives who leave them a little bit of money. Yeah, I'm not going to discount them. But the reality is we're not moving. This is like the reason why I like that term stagflation. When you think stagflation, you think stagnant. Stagnant means that things aren't moving. They're not moving fast enough. They're not developing fast enough. That's where you are. I can't wait for this year to end because I swear to God, it feels like nothing is working. It feels like nothing is moving this year. It's like everything is just standing still. It's as if the earth is holding its breath, waiting to breathe out, but it's just holding its breath. It's like nothing's moving. Nothing's moving. So That's basically that. It's like you're in a shitty economy. Your kids are literally parasites at this point, and a lot of you are weak enough to allow it. And by doing that, you're setting us up for a future where we're forced to allow illegal immigrants in because we have nobody else skilled to do the work. While your daughter's getting her worthless PhD, we have nobody to do the work, so we got to let other people in to do work that she normally would have been forced into the job market to do. And that's just it. That's where you are. So all of these stories that keep coming up, it's like all of these things are connected. Every single one of them's connected. And this is what you've got going now. This right here is what you've got going now. It's disgusting. It's like there's no leadership. There's no movement. Everything is just stagnant right now. It's sad. It's really sad.